This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome aboard. How wonderful for your own live and interactive safari here with some impala, and a very, very warm welcome to about 55 families joining us from across the world: UK, USA, Canada, Singapore, India, Spain, Malaysia, and our very own South Africa. I think these impala are very happy to have you all on board. Remember, kiddies, to send your questions through to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv, and we would love to chat to you. Now, my name is Trishala. You're looking at some impala. Isn't it just perfect for a rhyme? And I've also got Owen on camera this very, very warm afternoon. It's about 33 or 31 degrees Celsius, and 88 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is warm, and that's why they're all chilling in the shade. Out here again on quarantine clearings. You must be so used to this name and this area now. And that's where all the herd animals, or the herbivores, like to hang out. Hello everyone. There's a couple youngsters that have been trying to nurse. Now, there were one or two. Oh, there's one trying. Are you trying? No, Mom's not going to let you. You can see that's a little boy. Tiny little horns poking through. Now, impalas are weaned by 4 to 7 months. Oh, here comes the big guy. You can see he's got his large horns. There he is in the middle there. You can see that. Oh, yes. Show us your face. Very nice. Now, can you see, kids, that he is the only one, the only male with large horns that is here at the moment? That's because he's getting a little bit territorial. Territorial means that he's going to find a patch of land, probably the one that he's on right now, and he's going to defend it against any other males that come along. That's why there's only one of them. Now, this little boy that we saw earlier who had the little horns poking out, this large male, this ram, might get a little bit angry with him and other males around and start to push them out, but only temporarily. And then the whole family will join back again. Very sweet. Okay, well, we're going to keep on heading towards Chitwa, and we'll send you over to James this afternoon to say hello.
Good afternoon and welcome to Saturday afternoon sunset safari on this part of Djuma Private Game Reserve. My name is James Henry. David is on camera. Hello. And we're looking at the starling over there. As always, the first 45 minutes of the show dedicated to the kids, so please talk to us using the email address kidsquestions@wildearth.tv, and we will look at that starling for the next few minutes and hope that it does 4 backflips and perhaps even a pirouette. Oh, it's doing a little saber rattling there. It's sharpening its beak, cleaning it off. This is one of 2 species of starling, either a greater blue-eared glossy starling or a Cape glossy starling. And at this distance, quite difficult to tell. But if it calls, we'll be able to tell, because the greater blue-eared starling will go meow, whereas the Cape glossy starling will say sort of. This particular starling is not saying anything. Now, my wife is directing the show today, and she's obviously quite cross with me, because she says I must leave this bird now, because Nikki up at Ngala, 40 kilometers away, has got, and I quote, a better bird than this one.
Good afternoon to all the kids. I'm Nikki here at andBeyond Ngala, and behind me with the camera is Marcel. So we just found some southern ground hornbills. I think we just lost one of them. You know what I'm going to do? There's a bit of an opening right over here, and then we'll be able to see them. So there's a few, you can actually hear them calling. They have this Sounds like a drum in the distance, like a doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. So let's just go forward a slight bit. They weren't, see them through the gap here. Marcel, let me know once you can see it. Okay, because we might, oh, there I can see at the back, there is some movement. There is going to be another gap right in front. Hopefully we can see him. Okay, could you see him? Right, let's go. Oh, they're jumping. I can see a bit of jumping.
Stop.
Okay.
Forward.
All right, here we go. After the 7th attempt. Okay, there we go. Can you see it through the tree there? Okay, let's see if we can get it. So you'll just see it through the tree.
Straight in the middle.
Straight in the middle. Oh, we'll have to wait. I think you got a branch there.
Yeah.
Okay. On that note, we lost the southern ground hornbill. But just to show the kids exactly what we are talking about, and just to give you an idea more or less how the bird looks like, so that you have an idea. So, can you see that in the distance? Just want to quickly go to. So this is the bird right over here that we were looking at, the southern ground hornbill. So you'll notice like quite a big beak, like a lot of red under the neck, and it's a pretty big bird. I mean, like if the book was the ground, so it's probably that size. Now I can hear them calling. Maybe there could be a gap. I'm slowly going to go forward, and let's hope that it's not another stump. I'm going to hold it against Marcel. Oh, especially because he's such a good spotter that he won't live this down, I'm sure. Ooh, Marcel, and I think you should be doing a dance for this. I know there's a lot of requests. He says that I don't think we can see them anymore. I can hear them still calling, but we'll just have to see if we can find some more. But we were looking for the cheetah in this area, so this is where we saw the cheetah this morning. And they have moved off from where they were last seen. So we are going to slowly move through this area now. This time of the day, we're going to be looking for cheetah. They might be laying in the shadow under a tree somewhere. But for now, we're going to head across to Trishala with some kudu. Hopefully not another stump.
I'm so glad it's not a stump. It is, in fact, a lovely kudu cow. Hello, miss. You have some beautiful calves. Well, actually, only one would be hers. There's other females around. And I see 3 little ones. These are just 2 of them. Hello, gorgeous guys. And we're still out here in quarantine, so there's a whole lot of antelope around. Just too cute. Oh, there's another little one. There's other mums around too. Look at those big ears. Isn't that just too cute? It always amazes me how mammal babies are always cute to us, regardless of what type of mammal you are. They have the same distinct cute features. And that's often the reason that you'll find that certain mammals will take care of the young of others, especially if they lose a baby and they find another little one, just like you. Oh, it reminds me of Bambi a little bit, with the spots and the beautiful grass and the sunlight. Oh, yes, we want a taste of a little flower. Hello, Lewis. You're 5 years old. You'd like to know, why is this space called quarantine? It's called quarantine clearings. And it was named so because at one point, long ago, it used to be an area where animals like farm animals, they call it livestock, would be quarantined many years ago. So it's just kept its name. But it's a great place to be if you're an antelope, because it's nice and open. There's lots of nice grass, there's a bit of shade, And if it's open, it means that those big ears can really go to work and listen. Now in the bush, if it's very, very bushy, then the sound can be a bit difficult to hear. So in an open place, it's easier to hear. It's also easier to see, because you can see for a long while. Now kudus generally only have one calf at a time. Hello Helen, you're 6 years old and you're from New York. You'd like to know, why do they have these white stripes? Now that is a way to be a little bit more camouflaged when you're out in the bush. Now kudu, unlike most other antelope, they don't have to be out here in the open plains. They're quite happy to be in the thickets. That means in a thicker bush. And those white stripes help to break up their body shape. So it's very easy and obvious when you get just one mass of brown. Oh, excuse you. One mass of brown, it's just a blob in the middle of the bush. It's very easy to see. But if you have stripes or little spots, other little colors on you, oh, very cute, then it's difficult to see. And that's why many animals out here have different colors. If it's not obvious, it's sort of shaded, like with an impala. It goes from dark to light. But you don't, or you hardly ever get an animal that's just one solid color, because that's very easy to pick out in the bush. These youngsters are having the time of their lives. Oh, get that itch. I always think it's very, very amazing that you could use your back leg to scratch your ear. Can you imagine if you could do that? Oh, you're finding that termite mound very, very tasty. Naughty little thing. Oh, and now we've got to play for a little. That was quite a sprint. Now these animals are very, very relaxed. So that means that I don't think that there are any predators around at the moment. This morning there were wild dogs here. And then the impala and all the other antelope were chased away, but they've all come back. So that must mean that they feel safe. Hello, Chloe, you're 9 years old. You'd like to know, why do kudus have that fluffy fur on the back of their necks? You'll find that there are a few antelope. Chloe, there are a few antelope that do have that kind of fur. Let's go watch up here. And what they will do is that when they feel that they're being threatened or they want to show their dominance, then they pick up that fur, just like, oh, is it you? Let's watch you. No, it's more further ahead. Let's go further. Sorry, Chloe. They pick up the fur on the back of their neck, and it makes them look bigger. And that means that to other animals, to other kudus, if they feel that they are somehow being threatened by another kudu or by an animal that they're not sure about, then they'll pick up that fur. They call it piloerection. It means that each one, there we go, each one of those little hairs has a tiny little muscle at the bottom, and that muscle picks the hair up to make it nice and straight along their back. Now those sounds we were hearing were impalas that were fighting. That's so cute, these two are playing around. All right, enough time here at Quarantine Clearings. I'm going to head off to Chitwa and I'll send you over to James with some vultures.
We are sitting here with two white-backed vultures, I think they are. The white-backed vulture is the most common vulture that we get here, but it is not a common animal. They're not white-backed at all. They're hooded vultures, and they are not common in this part of the world, and they are also severely endangered, like most of the vulture species, in fact all of the vulture species. Now you might ask yourself why they're sitting there, and that would be a very good question. And the reason they're sitting there is because just below them, some lions have murdered a giraffe. Now don't be offended by my use of the term murdered. It's just me trying to be morbidly amusing. So they killed a giraffe in there yesterday, and unfortunately we can't go in there, and so you can see a little bit of movement there, and that's where they're eating the giraffe. And maybe when it gets a bit cooler they'll come out from the shade. But it's a large pride of lions there, known as the Talamati pride. Hello, Zara. You're just 4 years old and you want to know how birds eat. Well, they eat the same way you do. They put stuff in their mouths and then they swallow. It's the same kind of thing. Very similar to the way you eat. Obviously, they don't have a mum and dad to feed them. And these particular birds have got a disgusting diet. Their diet consists of eating, wait for it, are you ready for me to tell you? Lion dung. They have to eat lion scat or lion poo, which I think is the most disgusting thing in the world. But that's what they have to eat. And they don't mind, they think it's quite nice. But of course, I mean, we as human beings would find it very disgusting indeed. Interesting, hey? But that's what the poor old hooded vulture has to eat. And you know, birds drink all sorts of different things. Some eat meat, some eat seeds, some eat, what else? Insects, some eat fish, frogs, and depending on their diet, that will depend on the shape of their beaks. Matt, aged 6 in London, wants to know what sorry, I missed that. I tried very hard to hear it at the same time, but I just couldn't. My brain was too small. How often do they have to eat and drink? Matt, it is much the same as you. You know, if you have one grape for breakfast, you'll be hungry in about half an hour, right? But if you have a good breakfast of eggs and bacon and sausages and mushrooms and potatoes and fried bread, some black pudding, and wash it down with a good chocolate milkshake, you know that you won't be hungry again probably until supper time. Well, it's the same with the birds. They don't eat every day if they have a very big meal, but if they only have a small meal, then they'll have to go and get some more to eat. And they don't probably have to drink very often, especially these vultures, but they will drink from time to time. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Oh, you know, Amelia, this is a difficult one. It's a really difficult one because they're endangered because of people, basically, and there are a number of reasons for that. Firstly, we know that vultures like to eat carcasses, which means dead animals. Now, they will look around, they fly up in the sky, and they'll look around for a dead animal, and if they see it, they'll fly down and they'll eat it. So in that way, they're sort of like the cleanup crew. Oh, there's a lion. Fantastic stuff. Wow. Come. Well, that's nice to see. Good, so that's one of the pride. Anyway, we'll sit here for a while I quickly explain to Amelia. And in areas outside of game reserves or places like we're in now, there are very few carcasses lying on the ground, right? Because it's farmland and animals don't die naturally in farmland. They're either farmed or taken away, and so there isn't much to eat for them outside. Also, they are killed by human beings for use in medicine. And I know that's just ridiculous, but some people have got some strange beliefs, and it's difficult to change their minds. And also, lots of people are very poor, so even if they don't believe that there's medicine, they'll sell the vultures to medicine people, and so that's why they're endangered. But as with most animals, because we don't have a lot of space for them to live in, their population numbers are going down, because there are lots and lots and lots of people in the world, 9 billion people just about. And that's a number that we actually can't even understand. It's so big. Yes, Olivia, you certainly can raise vultures in captivity, and it's been done successfully by a number of people, and then they are released out into the wild. I think it's quite difficult for them, but it certainly has been done, and I think it's been done relatively successfully. I don't know about with hooded vultures, but often what happens is and if they're injured, for example, then what will happen is that people will take them in, heal them, fix their wings, whatever it is, and if they're okay, then they'll put a tag on them and release them. So yeah, for sure, they can be raised by hand. But you never want them to become dependent on a human being. So if you raise a vulture by hand, you have to train it to go and look for food on its own. You don't really want it to see you as a person as the provider, because then it won't go away and live in the wild. Now, I must just say there that I know very little about raising birds. I've never raised a bird before, other than the budgerigar, and it didn't survive very long, so I'm not very good at raising birds. And there's I suppose that lion's flat on her back now, is she? Well, we're going to go up to Ngala, where Nick is searching for cheetahs, which sounds like a great activity for the afternoon. We'll sit here another 5 minutes and then carry on to see what else we can find.
So we looked in the area for some cheetah, and we haven't seen anything. We haven't seen any tracks. What I think is they might have either gone and laid in the tall grass, but we couldn't see them, or maybe they could have moved off the property. We're not too sure, but however, we are going to carry on with a search past some of the waterholes, see if there's any signs of elephants, maybe buffalo, could be some zebra or even giraffe going down to drink. So that's what we'll be focusing on. And as soon as it starts to get a bit cooler, we might just do a bit of a line search. But if there's any tracks or signs of cheetah, we'll always give it a go. You just never know the luck in the bush. But for now, because it is still very warm, you'll notice there's not a few, or an so there hasn't been a lot of animals around. Here and now you would have seen impala in the distance, but I think mainly most of the animals are trying to find shelter in the shade, and as it starts to cool down, they'll start moving again, and hopefully by that time we can spot some of the animals we're looking out for. And I would like to know from the kids, I mean, we always say we're going to look for this or try and look for that, but I would love to hear from the kids, if you can let us know, what are some of the animals that you are hoping to see? Please let us know. And then I know Louisa, age 3, you were asking something in regards to, is there anything faster than a cheetah? I would say on land, the cheetah are the fastest. But maybe there could be something faster in the ocean, or maybe a type of bird, I'm not too sure. So Marcel reckons a peregrine falcon, which I've heard about it. When they do that dive, they are faster than the cheetah. But in terms of a land animal, the cheetah are the fastest. So what we're also trying to do Stacey H4, you're asking a very good question. Do we find any secretary birds here at andBeyond Ngala? Now, I'm not too sure. I've never seen one at andBeyond Ngala, but there should be some in the area. I do know a little bit south from where we are, there has been a few that has been seen, but I just haven't seen one in Ngala yet. So you never know. Maybe this afternoon could be a lucky afternoon. There's some impala just in front of us in the road. Quickly stop while we wait for them to move across. So you'll notice it's just a few youngsters just noticing the horns, and it might be a bachelor herd. So a bunch of males have been pushed out and now they're by themselves because of safety and numbers. We are going to slowly try and move forward. Now this is close to the water hole we're going to, so they might have come down from the water. They might have drank a little bit earlier and now they're moving away from it. So let's go have a look. There we stop. I don't know if any of the kids have taken a lot of time with impala, but I do really want to just show some of the colors. Now, to me, it's probably one of the most beautiful antelopes in the bush. Now, have a look at this one. That's like, it does look like he had a bit of grass. Oh, yeah, there he goes. He's just enjoying a nice bit of lunch there. But you'll notice the different colors. I mean, look at the tail. You'll see whenever he wags that tail, there's a little bit of white there. And then look at the back, these 3 black stripes. And then from the side, oh, he just probably heard us moving and now he's just having a look. It just shows you how aware they are of what's going on around them. But if you notice, look at the white on the belly and a bit of a cream brownish color on the side and then a darker reddish color on top of the back. They are really beautiful antelope. It just looks like the 2 of them here. There was a herd earlier on, but I think it is 2 that have been separated, and they're probably trying to stick as close as they can to the herd without being pushed away by that dominant ram. Just looks like that one spotted something. You see the way that he's like looking in that direction. Look at the ears pointing forward. You'll even see he stopped chewing, really focusing hard. I wonder if there's not like a predator or something he would have seen. It is still pretty warm, so maybe it could have been another impala, maybe a zebra that has moved across. But I think for now, we're going to go and have a look and see what he's looking at. But let's head across to James.
We seem to be having a few communications issues. We just thought we'd sit here for a little bit longer and see if maybe these chaps would do something, but I don't think that there's going to be much action from the lions. I think they're going to sit where they are, and that is the way of things, I'm afraid. But we've still got the vultures, so we'll sit and look at the vultures for a few minutes, and then I think we'll carry on and see what else we can see. Now apparently there might be a second grebe chick in the nest. Some people were talking about it. We will go and have a look there later. We just wanted to make sure that the light was nicer, because it does shine horribly off the water there. Emmett, what a lovely question. How do we help these vultures? You know, at the moment, I think that the greatest help we can give to any creature in the wild is to make people aware of them and to inform ourselves as much as possible, and in so doing we increase awareness about the animals and their plight, and then people will fall in love with nature as we tell them about it. There is no way for a lot of people to look at a picture of a bird like that and say, you know what, I really love vultures, I'm going to help them. Because it's difficult to connect with an animal you know nothing about. And so people who love nature, like you, need to learn as much as they can about birds like this, and as much about the problems that they have, and then tell other people about them. Eventually, if you grow up into an extremely rich human being, and then you can start donating money, or perhaps you'll be a biologist and you'll join a research program and you can help them that way. But right now, at your age, you can really make a difference, and you make that difference by learning as much as you can about these vultures and then telling people about them. And you can also transfer that to the rest of nature. So you learn about vultures, and in so doing, you'll learn lots of different things about nature. And as you are enthusiastic about nature and about conservation, and the more you tell people about it, so they too will become enthusiastic about it. And that's really how we help nature and endangered species. And then, like I say, when you get a bit older and you are trying to decide what to study or what to do with your life as an adult, you can go into research and help find out more about birds like this or other bits of conservation. Maybe you'll become a rich businessman, in which case you can make sure that your business doesn't do any harm to the environment, first of all, and then second of all, you can make sure that you support people who help conservation and nature. So there are lots and lots of different ways to do it, and it's never too early to start. Your big role right now is to learn as much as you can and just tell people about it. Make them feel the same love that you do for nature. All right, I think we've waited about as long as we can here for anything to happen with the birds and with the lions. So we're going to go across to Trishala, who's made it all the way down to Chitwa, which is the reserve to the southeast of us. And let's see if she's got some animals at the water there.
Not at the water just yet, but I do have a water buck, so very close, James. Now this water buck, in fact, there were two of them. Two males. Again, look kids, two big horns. Usually it means it's a male. Now, they're not very well behaved, these two. But they insist on going behind all of the bushes. Unfortunately, I'm no authority to tell them any differently. So let us go to the water. Oh, you got it again. There we go. And behind the bush again. Sometimes the animals do as they please, and what can I do about that? Nothing. We're just here to watch them. Now, James is talking about really important things with you all, and I'd like to tell you again how important it is. When I was little, I used to play with anything to do with animals. I used to play outside with leaves and flowers. I used to have look at this, look at this. No, he's behind us. Again, kids hiding behind the bush. That was an impala advertising his territory, making sure nobody else comes in there. Look at him getting angry at the bush. Hello, Tristan. You're 4 years old and you're in the UK. You'd like to know why I'm impala called the McDonald's of the bush. In fact, I think that was the first thing I ever heard about impala, just like you, Tristan. And that's because of two reasons. If this guy here shows us he's behind, you'll see that there's a little M that's made up of his two butt cheeks and his tail. In fact, let me see if I can go ahead a little bit. And apart from that, they seem to be quick and easy fast food for most of the predators. So that's why it's called Donald's of the bush. There we go. Can we see? It's behind. It's an M in black markings. Ba-dum-ba-ba-ba, Impala, I'm loving it. That's what it is. Anyway, I am going to approach the water now, and Nicky is at some water, and he's got a very tall animal drinking, so let's go over to him.
Wag, daar sny weer uit. So we're just like on our way to the waterhole. We saw this buffalo laying down, as well as, look here on the right, a giraffe that came down to drink. So if we spend some time here, we might just see, look at him. You can just see his throat moving, and sometimes for a giraffe, especially with such a long neck, it's quite a bit of a mission in order to drink, so they have to splay their legs out, almost like a triangle in order to get down. But have a look at that. You can just hear the red bull hornbills calling just right next to us as we're looking at this beautiful giraffe. But I think what I want to do is just slowly move forward so we can see the giraffe and that buffalo a little bit clearer. So let me go forward. There we go. Oof, and there's also vultures right next to where that giraffe stood a bit earlier, but we'll have a look at them now. Let's just quickly go back to that giraffe. Imagine if he moves around and we can actually see him drinking from the other side. See, there was a few doves earlier that he just disturbed, and they flew off, and they're coming to sit down this side. Even look at the reflection. We're going to try and stick with this giraffe for another little while. But for now, let's head across to James with a herd of elephants.
They're just walking past us here. I think they've been having a drink at a waterhole very close by. And now they're just tossing a bit of dust onto themselves and heading off into the bush to again. I'm going to try and back up, I think, a little bit. Try not to make too much noise in this noisy car. Well, that's quite a nice one there. Throwing sand on myself. Do it again, please. Come on. Everyone's watching now. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, once again. 1, 2, 3, go. No? There we go. Well done. Very shy. Hello, Tali, Israel. It's your birthday today. Happy birthday to you. I want to know one incredible fact about elephants that you might not know. I don't know how much you know about elephants, Tali, but maybe you didn't know that they have 250 billion neurons in their brains. How about that? That's pretty good. 250 million, actually, I think. It's not billion. 200, is it? I can't remember. I'm off by a factor of 1,000. Never mind. Let's call it 250 million. It's 2.5 times the number that we have. Neurons in the brain. Isn't that amazing? We have 100 million. That's quite a lot. Now, there are 12 elephants in here, maybe? just try and see how little noise, or hear how little noise 12 elephants makes. While we go back, we're going to go across to Trish, who's still at her waterhole.
Yes, I am, and there's a lot of very cute little birds that like to hang out near the water around here, and this little one is called a three-banded plover. It is very little, and it's going around trying to pick up little invertebrates. That's how small it is. Invertebrates are things like insects and worms, other little things that float around in the water, and that's what this three-banded plover is after. So they have tiny little chicks that are just the cutest things ever. Not at this time, but because they're so little, you can imagine how little the chicks are. Cute. Now there's some blacksmith lapwings and some geese over on the side as well. Very nice. Because I got part of that question there. I got Caleb and something about pythons. Miller and Caleb, there we go. Noah and Caleb. You'd like to know, where are the pythons? Where do they like to live? Now, the only time I've seen pythons around here were dead ones. Twice. That was when a leopard had caught and eaten them. So you don't see them very often. In fact, even when we have trackers, those are people that go walk out into the bush and look for animals, and they've been here for much of their lives. Even they have not seen many pythons. That's because pythons are a little bit shy. They're not always out and about looking to get everyone's attention. Instead, pythons prefer to recoil under a nice bush, find a little space that is away from everybody else, maybe even in a tree. They definitely don't like too much attention. Also, they're very large, so they don't like to have to move very much. Oh no, we have a little fight. So I haven't seen a live python here, except for dead ones in the mouths of a leopard, Tingana and Hosanna, to be correct. Anyway, that draws a close to our kids' drive, so we invite everyone else to please send in your questions and your comments, chat to us, and we will continue with the rest of the drive. I'm hearing occasional screams, but it sounds like people, not animals. So use the hashtag WildEarth or the YouTube chat stream or Twitch, whichever you prefer, and communicate with us. Alright, we're going to leave the watering hole and we'll send you back over to James to say good afternoon to the rest of you with some Ellies.
Hello, the rest of you who've been watching me probably anyway. This elephant matriarch is a little uncomfortable with us. Not sure why. Might be the smell of diesel that this Mahindra belches out. It is an old Mahindra. But she might, yes, as my wife is saying, feel self-conscious. One interesting thing about her right tusk, also the left-hand one as you look at it, is that she's very to break bits of grass and bush. You can see there's a groove in it, and that's not unusual. That groove's just been cut by years and years of use. I would try and move, but I think we'd make a big noise and she'd get a fright. So I'm just going to wait here. Breaking off bits of a tree that has been broken off many times. A red bush willow. Our most common tree. I love the sound of this own skin on itself. So elephants are really pretty good at telling us when they're uncomfortable. The first indication is that they'll stop what they're doing. So if they're feeding, say you're with a group of elephants and they're feeding casually and you arrive and they all stop feeding and freeze, that's the first sign. Then often what will happen is the elephant will lift its head. So sometimes not fully like she did there. She lifted her head right up and opened her ears. That's very clear to you that it's, don't come any closer. But she might just lift it up slightly, and then you can feel them trying to hear, see, and smell what's going on around them. And those are all signs that they're slightly uncomfortable. They might then pretend to feed, so you'll see them picking stuff up and then kind of half-heartedly putting it in their mouths and then dropping it. It's an indication that they're investigating what you're doing now. See how her head is not particularly relaxed. She's having a little bit of a scratch. Head's quite high up, trunk sometimes on the tusk. Now she's relaxing. You see the head comes right down. But she's still listening. She's still listening and watching us very carefully. This sort of behavior is interesting because it's not serving a great purpose other than allowing her to be there. Isn't that lovely? I think elephants just like that feeling. I'm not sure that it makes a huge difference to their parasite load. Erica, normally the matriarch of the herd is the one that will be in front, like this one is. She'll often put herself between what she perceives as a threat and the rest of the herd. And often it's just the biggest cow in the herd, the oldest cow in the herd. Sometimes it's not easy to tell, but the herds here are not massive. They're not massive anywhere, really, except when they come together. And so the herds of elephant here are about 8 to 12 strong normally, sometimes 15. And so it's not difficult to find the oldest cow. This is almost certainly the matriarch here. You can see that she's the biggest cow. She's the one that watched us carefully as we came up. She's the one that gave the signal for them to move forward. She's in front. She's put herself between us and the rest of her charges. So it's most likely that she's the matriarch. She's not an old matriarch, though. She's relatively young, I'd say. 35-ish. This is great. Now you could find that another bigger cow would come through the bush behind her, and then you'd say, well, that's most likely the matriarch, but this is an older cow and senior cow in the herd. And remember, the matriarchy in an elephant herd is not like that in a hyena clan. There's no benefit to the matriarch other than the satisfaction of teaching her offspring how to survive well and protecting them. So it's not like she gets the perks of the matriarchy in a hyena clan, where she'll eat more than everyone else. Thank you very much, Judy H. You've confirmed that it is 250 billion neurons in an elephant's brain, and ours 100 billion. I think that's correct. Thank you, Judy H, for that. So now this cow here, watch her. She's doing exactly what the other one was doing. And if you look carefully, she just lifted her head. She's got her baby there. She's moving the baby away from us, trying to make sure that it doesn't come closer to us. And there she is. And she's just slightly smaller than the first cow. They're not angry. They're not trying to warn us off or anything like that. Just saying, you know, I see you. Possibly don't come any closer right now. Skinny potato? No. No, the elephant's trunk does not have any bones in it. The elephant's trunk is made up of thousands of muscles and nerve fibers that are tremendously complicated to get to operate. And it takes about 2 years for an elephant to learn to use its trunk effectively, because the neurology involved in the coordination of it is complicated. So you saw that look she gave us. I know a lot of our viewers will be going to self-drive safari in the Kruger Park when the end of this lockdown occurs. Maybe not even in the Kruger, maybe the Pilanesberg or Addo Elephant National Park, one of our other beautiful national parks. And you're going to come across elephants, and there's a lot of misconception and misinformation about what constitutes an angry elephant, how to behave in front of an elephant. And I hope that for those of you who are inexperienced, a lot of you have been to these places and know exactly what I'm talking about, but for those who haven't and are thinking about it, this is the kind of thing you've got to look out for with elephant behavior. And it's important that you do, because there are a lot of people who talk a lot of great bags full of drivel about elephants and their behavior. It's interesting. Not sure why we got stuck there. And so those are the things you kind of got to look out for an elephant's feeling threatened or upset, or perhaps doesn't want you around. And I think what's doubly important is that we do tend sometimes, especially I think in South Africa actually, to take a slightly confrontational approach to wildlife that doesn't necessarily want us around. And I've certainly been on experiences in the Kruger where, you know, people have stood out and kind of challenged the animals to back down rather. And my advice is that when you're in a natural area, just be passive. Be as passive as possible, unless you're in a seriously threatening situation. There's really no way you can get out of it but to be the aggressor. Always be on the defensive. Always be trying to increase space between you and an animal if it shows that it's in the slightest bit uncomfortable. And in that way, what happens is that slowly over time, it does built up. And once that trust is built, everyone gets much better sight, closer, the animals become more confiding. What happens though is that trust is broken very quickly. Time to build up again. So these chaps are probably going to cross onto the next door reserve. I know the light's not great, but I want to go past them. No, doing a self-drive is not by any dangerous. Thousands and thousands of people do it every year. Apparently 3 million people visit the Kruger National Park every year. That's a statistic from many years back, so it's probably much more than that now. and fewer than 0.000. In fact, I can't remember the last time someone died self-driving in the Kruger Park. So it's perfectly safe, yes. People do have their cars damaged from time to time because they don't know how to behave in front of elephants, especially. But certainly, if you obey the park rules, it's perfectly safe. There are parts of Botswana and Zimbabwe you can go to self-drive as well, where there aren't any rules, really. And then you kind of need to know a little bit more about what you're doing. So if you're going to do a self-drive and you're thinking about going on safari on your own, best to start off easy with a Kruger Park or Addo elephant experience, I would say, before you progress to one of the Botswana or Zimbabwean national parks where, there are very few rules. People get out of cars and move around. It's much more remote. Camps are unfenced. Wonderful experiences, but probably best to start off in a place like the Kruger in South Africa. Maddie says only 2 million people visit the Kruger Park every year. I remember reading that statistic a while back and thinking, how is it that so many fewer people visit the Kruger Park than visit Paris every year? And being quite shocked. It's about a tenth the number that visit the Kruger. All right, we're going to let these elephants head off into the north there. We can't go there. We'll go back down to the waterhole. You're going to go back to Nick, and I think he's managed to find himself a shakal.
Daardeur. So we just found a black Bag Jackal. We can just see the back of it. So we are going to move slightly forward and look a bit back, but I think we might be able to get up. Oh, there we go. Tell me if you can get that one there, Marcel. There we go. Just need to make sure, like after the southern ground hornbill, I really have to make sure that we are looking at the right animal. I have been teasing him and he has been teasing me, so. But you can just see the ears like pointing through the grass.
That's what friends are for, eh?
They're one of my favorite little predators or scavengers. So there is a family, I think, of 6 jackal. So there's a family of 6 that stays in this area, and I wonder if this might be one of the adults that is like moving around to see if there's any scraps laying around. Now, earlier on, we were in an area where there wasn't any signal, so we had to move out, but there were quite a few leopard tracks in that area, and I wonder if this jackal, if the leopards have moved through and maybe there was an old kill or something nearby, and this jackal probably smelled something and came to investigate. But for now, very relaxed. Early on, he stood up, like walked a little bit around, and then from there on laid in the grass. It is still pretty warm, so it might be resting for a little bit longer. So one of my, I would say my all-time favorite sightings with one of these beautiful black-backed jackals, especially this one that we're looking at. So there was a kill not too far away from here, and a hyena was quite near this jackal, and this jackal started calling like roar, 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 like trying to like just make a bit of noise, and this hyena didn't like it, so this hyena started chasing the jackal around this termite mound. And the jackal eventually, like after a few laps, went out and stood and waited under this one bush, and this hyena kept running around thinking that the jackal is still running around the termite mound. And eventually when the hyena realized that the jackal outsmarted him, he went back to the jackal, and then the jackal like trotted and then did another loop again. The hyena did it again, and after 2 laps, the jackal moved out again, and the hyena did another one. And then after that, the jackal like made another call and then ran off from there, almost like just delighting in the way that he outsmarted that hyena. You can see very, very relaxed. Oh, I heard there's quite a few people that haven't seen a jackal yet on the show. Like, how amazing is this, though? I mean, bless you, Marcel, but with jackal, so there's two types of jackal that you find in this area. The one is the side stripe, and then the other is the black back. Now, the differences are mainly like around the back. Now, this one has a very dark back. It looks like a saddle, like a black saddle over the back. So what I would like to do is just maybe if we can spend some time here and hope that this jackal stands up. If not, maybe we can carry on and see if we can find the rest of the family. But I think let's give it another minute or so, see if they stand up. If not, then we'll carry on. Bless you, Marcel. So I'm going to try and take my binoculars and have another look at this little jackal. I'm also trying to see if there's anything around it. But, so for now, we'll stick a bit of time here and see if this jackal might stand up. But for now, let's head across to Tshola with some Ngala, which is also really nice to see.
That also rhymes. Shushala with a Ngala. Hello, yes, we're talking to you. There's so many of them. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 females. And 1 male. We're here at Chitwa Runway, that's why it looks so runway-ish. And it's just lovely to see them. So we have 4 boys or brothers living at camp at the moment. They're very, very cool to watch. They're very used to us as well. The others are lovely. I always think of them as nice, soft human. Thank you, Kirsten, but I already said that. Kirsten said I should rap for Tshola and Ngala, but I told her I already mentioned Tshola and Ngala. Unfortunately, there's no impala to try to tie it all in, you know. Gotta wait for the right moment. But it's been a really nice antelope day, so we managed to see impala, Ngala, Tshola. No, I just had to, sorry. We saw impala, we saw Ngala, we saw wildebeest, we saw waterbuck. It's been pretty awesome. Did I miss something else that we saw? You don't see too many of them all the time, so it's nice that they're out and about, and hopefully that'll mean that the predators would also have something a little bit later on this evening. Very cool. So we're going to go a little bit further in, maybe around the Bushbrae area, and just have a look there, see what we can come up with. But I think it is the day of the herbivores, at least for now. Hello, Tristan. You're 10 years old. You'd like to know a kudu related to Ngala. They are related to Ngala. In fact, they're from the same genus, Trigolaphus. So that means that they're from spiral-horned antelope group. And yes, they are related. See, Tristan, the more you watch, the more you get to figure out who's related to who. And then you can also kind of figure out the general lifestyle, because that's the way biologists group things, so that certain characteristics will be able to group, or you'll be able to predict certain characteristics based on the group. So the more you watch, the more you can do things like that, and maybe you can even become a conservationist, or even better, a scientist. I'm just choosy like that, but there's no difference between, or there's not one that's better than the other. I just prefer a scientist, or science. Very fluffy tail. Very cute indeed. That female has been having a go at that particular piece of grass that she just clearly can't get for a while now. She's still trying to. It's a long vine-like piece that she keeps picking up and playing with. Okay, so a lot of you are curious about the airstrip and would like to know how many planes land here. As far as I know, there's only one plane that lands here. It is a personal plane, not my own. But probably not now, during lockdown, etc. As for what the air traffic is like, I'm not sure whether they have air traffic control. I'm pretty sure they don't. But not too many planes. For myself, at least, I haven't driven here and then suddenly seen a plane come down from the sky and had to suddenly change direction. And I think when there's generally animals around, you can be sure that there's no planes coming in. Also, the mere fact that they'd probably let you know if there are planes coming in. Sometimes when I drive it, it feels like I'm about to take off, which is quite nice. Chomping, chomping, chomping. Okay, I'm going to send you across to James with the bird, as Kirsten says, and I'm keep on perusing Chitwa.
It's not the most amazing song you'll ever hear. It's a little monotonous. Its friends got a slightly greater repertoire. But it is a very handsome bird, this, I feel. Like a sort of, it reminds me of a snowman. I don't know why. But it is a really unusual white color. Now, what's interesting about it is that the white color is very easy to see. It's not in any way camouflaged. And in fact, for animals that see in monochrome or in just green and blue, like a lot of the predators out here, that will stand out like a sore thumb. And I don't really understand why it is that the white-crowned shrike should be so coloured. Same with the pied babbler, which we don't get here. But white, if you want to be found out here, is what to wear. Yeah, now you can almost see the jealousy on that bird's face as it listens to the black-crowned chagra going. And all it can do is go. Yeah, you see, it's been shamed by the chagra, and so now it is no longer calling. Kirsten is suggesting that I've given it a complex, and that it thought it had a beautiful voice until I told it it didn't. Well, I think the truth is important sometimes. My wife also said it sounds like a kitten going meow meow, and therefore it's beautiful. I must at this stage just state that my wife is not a singer either. Now, what the bird did there was hawk an insect out of the air. They make the most beautiful little nests, perfect little cup shape, and they lay their eggs in it, and it's such a size that their bodies fit perfectly over it in order to protect the eggs, but it looks almost too small because the adults stick out, if you know what I mean. It's the perfect shape for them to seal while they sit on the eggs, but they sit out of it. Now, I think all of this is to do with the territorial display. That's why that very prominently colored bird is sitting on the top of a tree shouting its head off. If there was a predatory bird around, it would take great interest at that. such a goshawk or something. We saw a gabbard goshawk in this area yesterday, at least this morning. But clearly not something that's bothering the white-crowned shrike. Ah, fantastic. Nicky found a spotted cat this morning. He's now found another spotted cat, but this time it's not a cheetah.
So we just found this big male leopard. As we were driving past that jackal we saw in the open area, like some of the impalas alarming, and as we followed them we found him. How beautiful is this male? Just look at his eyes. I'm not even sure if I'm familiar with what male this might be, so let's spend some time with him. But he is a very big leopard, like just looking at his coat as well. He's a very light colored coat. Oh, look at that. Now he's just showing off. Oh, just look at that. You can see the one thing that really, look, if you look at his tail, you'll see him rubbing his back feet now. So what he's doing is just scent marking his area. Have a look, see rubbing his head, and like those cheetahs, picking up his tail and then spraying urine onto those bushes. So earlier on, it did look like he wasn't too relaxed, but he's relaxed a lot with us being here. So we want to try and keep our distance, but we also want to try and see how long we can follow him. Let's see again, let's see if he picks up his tail, and where does he go from there? All right, let's try and follow him, but what an amazing spot. This is such an exciting afternoon, but this morning cheetah, this afternoon leopard. I just want to have a look because he went into quite a dense area. So must have to help out here. Went in that. So I'm going to try on this way. Any further of him, but I'm going to drive slowly that if he does move, we won't miss anything. Just having a look.
Sorry, guys. But at least you managed to see a big male leopard, which is awesome. Awesome, awesome. I've also got a big male to show you. Just as soon as I can find him again. There he is. There you are. You beautiful big male. I just need to get into a nice spot. I can see him a little bit. No, he's moving again. I was trying to be artistic, everyone. Then I'll tell you a funny story about me on the runway. There we go. Oh, hello, gorgeous. That is a gorgeous kudu bull. Stunning. Very difficult for me to choose favorites. Never do. Always dislike the question of favorites. But when it comes to what is your favorite antelope, a kudu bull takes the cake for me. We've got an oxpecker as well. Hello, oxpecker. Brown lapwing almost got stood on. Cleaning, cleaning. It always looks like they're eating corn. Like that chicken in the Warner Brothers. Does he lick corn? Well, that chicken who used to eat the corn, that's what these guys look like when they're cleaning the fur. Christina, you'd like to know why antelopes stay near the runway? Is it to detect predators? They're not always near the runway, Christina. That's why it was quite nice to see them like that. The runway is just another piece of area for them. It doesn't get used up a lot. Like I said, there's only one personal plane that comes in on it. And at the moment, it's not being used at all very much. So, it's not very different from any other area. And I don't think animals really think of it as special or dangerous or anything like that. Sometimes you see antelope there, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you see elephants there, sometimes you don't. Occasionally, there's a male lion just lying up in there as well. It's also a nice wide piece of road. And lions and cats tend to like that because they can lie on it and it's quite warm. But it's not just because it's open. I mean, that's definitely beneficial, but not the particular reason. Anyway, thank you, our lovely, beautiful kudu bull. We're going to send you back over to James, see what he's got for you. Maybe a surprise.
There's a monkey, and I know they seem very confiding in most places, and indeed criminal in many places. But when you find them out in the wild, they can be very skitty around us. And what I find so absolutely amazing about them, and a number of other arboreal or semi-arboreal creatures, is that they feel vulnerable up there when faced with a human being. So its default reaction, if we were to get closer, or if we cut down the tree as fast as possible and run away. Now, the logic behind that seems extremely faulty when you think about how incompetent 99% of us are at climbing trees. Yes, I know some of you young people are very good tree climbers, but none of you are anything like as good as a monkey. And so what they are doing is seeing us, human beings, as a tree climbing primate that poses some sort of threat to them. Now, I consider myself a relatively good tree climber. I would never be able to climb that tree and get to where that monkey is. No chance. A very good rock climber, yes, possibly, but not before the monkey had climbed a long way further up, and even then, you'd really struggle to get to it and balance. So the fact that they see us as this tree climbing primate, a predator that they need to get away from, is very interesting. Leopards the same. If you find a lion in a tree, it'll do the same thing. And I am constantly amazed by the fact that they feel cornered up there by us, but not by anything else. So they'll climb up a tree to get away from... These guys will climb up a tree to get away from a leopard, which we know can climb really well. And everybody's complimenting the monkey's beautifully long tail. And I suspect the rest of the troop is sitting close by, foraging close by. And this chap's looking out for a threat. He also looks a little bit like he's got a waxed moustache. When he looks this way, you'll see he looks like he's got a finely waxed moustache. Perhaps his name is Hercule. Hercule the monkey. He could be French, you know. Definitely. I can also see him, or imagine him, with a gouloise hanging out of his mouth. He looks a bit scandalized. He knows he'd never smoke. He might wear a beret, though. Well, yes, Cheetah Kim, if a monkey threw its poo at me, I'd definitely consider it an insult. I don't know. Look, I've actually never seen a monkey throw its poo, so I've only ever heard of it happening. And I suppose they do it out of a sense of desperation. You know, if you throw a piece of dung at something, perhaps you hope that it'll offend them sufficiently to make them turn around and go away, and you can make good your escape. But I don't know. Can't see the rest of them. Maybe old Hercule is on his own. Yes, he does seem calm, R. Lorimer. He looks like he's having a beautiful afternoon, looking out over the western horizon, where the sun will set eventually. He's looking due west towards it. He's got a comfortable perch to sit on. The only thing he's missing is an espresso and a newspaper. Although it's nearly 5 o'clock now, and perhaps Hercule is partial to a chilled Sauvignon Blanc. Oh, lots of new viewers are wondering what kind of monkey this is. Well, it's a really good question. In South Africa, it's pretty easy to identify the monkeys because we only have 2 species here. This is the Vervet Monkey. It is by far the most common monkey that we get here. The other is the Samango monkey, which you'd only find in really forested areas. This chap occurs all over a lot of urban areas in South Africa and all over the game reserves. And this is the Vervet Monkey, V-E-R-V-E-T, Vervet Monkey. Now we've got a surprisingly, I think, low diversity of primates in South Africa. Maybe it's not that surprising. It's probably because most of South Africa is semi-arid. And so primates tend to occur where it's a little bit wetter. Ooh, you saw those nasty fangs he's got there. Do you see that? This is why a monkey is not to be tangled with. So if you go up to East Africa, you get about 4 or 5 monkey species in the Masai Mara and the forests around there. Yeah, Leonardo all the way in New York City. I don't know why they've got this particular facial arrangement, with a black face and a white body. You know, some monkeys are black and white all over their bodies. Some monkeys are purely grey. Some monkeys are almost a blue colour. And if you look at baboons, they're sometimes uniform grey. Sometimes they've got brightly coloured noses. It's really, I don't really understand it, given the fact that both monkey males and females are the same color. So you might find that it has some kind of signaling function, so when they look around quickly they can see that black face. Maybe it's really easy to see, and so that's why they've got the black face. So the grey color is a very good camouflage color, but maybe they're really attuned to seeing the black. I don't know. You can see this is a male because he's big. That's a big monkey. And if you look at his biceps there, there's a pretty big biceps for a monkey. Yes, Neil, he has fingers. He could certainly play the piano. I think his size is probably more suited to a violin than a piano. I think he'd probably struggle to reach a full octave, and so his ability to play things like Rachmaninoff and the other moderns or romantics, Liszt and Chopin, I think would probably be compromised by the fact that he couldn't reach far enough. I would suggest that he was a violin player, maybe even a woodwind instrument where he could reach, a small one, piccolo. Or a very small electric guitar. Shani, you say when you were on your safari in Tanzania, your guide pointed this kind of monkey out as a blue ball monkey. Well, that's because if this chap shows us his nether regions, he does indeed have a very impressive set of blue balls, and that is sexual signaling. So he's got a bright redness and bright blue balls, and that's sexual signaling to both other males and to females, and the dominant monkeys have all got those two characteristics, and that's why they're called the blue ball monkeys sometimes. In Afrikaans they're called blou aap, which means blue ape, and I'm pretty sure that that comes from the color of their testicles. This is by far the most chilled monkey I've ever seen. It would not surprise me if he had sampled a mushroom by mistake and was now sort of trying to cope with the after effects. There you go, you can see them sticking out at the back there. Yes, well, as Kirsten says, maybe he's part of the troop that keeps breaking into our rooms and taking various kinds of medication. Maybe he's feeling a bit woozy after a box of paracetamol. See, there you can see his impressive signals. Gosh, that really is impressive. And he's now sitting on a black, well, no, he's not. He's sitting next to a black monkey thorn. And I've got to tell you, he wouldn't want to be sitting with that extravagance under his tail on the black monkey thorn. I've no idea where the rest of his troop could be, because that looks like a big dominant monkey to me. I can't believe that he'd be on his own. Maybe he's just been beaten up and chased out of a troop, and perhaps he's going to seek out a new troop to be in. That's quite possible, because that does happen. Maybe he's a youngster, or youngish one, or he's a very old one that's perhaps been overthrown. Oh, Ian, they're much shorter than baboons. This animal is about a quarter the size of a big male baboon. Yeah, in fact, now that I've got closer to him, I suspect he's a young male. You see how he's feeling threatened up top there? Let's just sit quietly. I find it just utterly astonishing that he should feel threatened by us while he's up there. So the mass of a fully grown male monkey is around about 6 kilograms with a maximum of about 8. And the Chacma baboon, big male Chacma baboon, will weigh in the region of 65 kilograms. So I mean, what's that? That's 7 times the size of a big vervet monkey. The fangs on a Chacma baboon are bigger than a lion's, substantially longer than a lion's, and sharper. Oh, I just want to quickly address something. Somebody asked me yesterday a lovely question about the longest incubation period for a bird, and we looked up a few values, and the longest we could come up with was 58 days for an ostrich. And somebody very kindly sent through some info saying, in fact, the emperor penguin has got a incubation period of 62 to 66 days, and I think that's the longest one. So thank you very much for that. It was Joy Hodgkinson. Thank you, Joy. Now we will leave our monkey and continue on with our safari, and you will go back to Trishala, who's got a pig.
I do, I have a pig. Oh, and they're off. They're very skittish, our love, to those in the nearby town, which will harass you and come within 30 centimeters of you. These guys run any sudden movement, loud sound, anything like that, they are off. Anybody? No? Nobody? Oh well. Pretty light, pretty pigs. At least we got to see them. Oh, I see them again. Oh, there we go. Isn't it just wonderful that we're able to do this? Show you, even for us, what seems like the very common creature that we get around, but they're still so cool, just like the Vervet Monkey that James was showing you. And it's just amazing that we get to do this. And if you also think that it's amazing, and you also enjoy watching, getting to know all of the animals, getting to learn, which is what I like most, please do go to our support page and help us out. What do you think, Warthog? Yeah, you still wanna get famous, don't you? I think it's awesome that we get to share with you the characters, meet the different characters, meet the lions, the leopards. I think it's really special. It does a lot for the education of people, as well as getting people excited. Getting people excited is just amazing, because then you don't need someone to tell you that you need education. You just become endlessly curious, which I love. Very nice. It's almost as if the warthogs have a wisdom of their own, I feel. Anyway, they're gone, and Nikki at andBeyond's Ngala have some really beautiful elephants doing something quite special.
So after that leopard, we came down into the riverbed, and as we were driving on, not even a kilometer away further, we found this elephant. But just have a look at how he dug into the river. Like, he actually used this trunk to dig in the sand to get some of the cleaner water. It'd be interesting to see, like, he had quite a bit of drink, so now it's just playing. I wonder if he's going to splash himself. It was quite a warm day today, so maybe he'll do that in order to cool himself down. Let's have a look. You can see very, very playful. And I think for him, like, he probably had like quite a bit to drink, so now it's just nice and cool just to blow the water through his trunk. Shiz from India, you asked a very good question. Are the elephants the heaviest of the mammals on Earth? Like, I would definitely say yes. Of the land mammals, yes. Because a big, big bull, I remember there was a bull that was recorded close to 12 tons. Now you can imagine this one here, just judging by his size, like his legs, his trunk, his head, I think he'll be close to 6, maybe just over 6 tons. And imagine an elephant almost twice the size of him. And I wonder maybe, like, why is he doing that? Is it maybe because as he was digging, there was quite a lot of, like, sand in the water, so now he's just trying to get rid of some of the other sand and cleaning the water before he takes a big sip? Or maybe it's just, like, after having a good drink, so now it's just nice and cool to play with the water. Because the water is cold, so he might just be pulling it up into his trunk and then just blowing it out. Because you can see when he blows it out, have a look, the first little bit is full of sand, and then it's quite a bit of clean water. Oh, there we go. No.
Kylie, you asked a good question. Do elephants sneeze? Like, I've heard an elephant before, especially when there was a lot of sand. They'll often like it sounds like a sneeze where they just suddenly like blow out all those, all the sand out of their trunk. So I have heard that before, but I do not know if it's the same type of sneeze that we are familiar with. I think maybe it's just to try and clean that long trunk of his, because for him, he doesn't breathe through that trunk. He breathes through his mouth, but of course he sucks up everything, all that water. He'll be able to suck like quite close to 8-9 liters of water through that trunk, especially this one here, and then blow that into his mouth. So sometimes you'll just need to give it a good clean. But it's amazing, like how the elephant, even though we're looking at this elephant and how he dug a bit of the sand to get to water, he plays such an important role within the environment. Oh, I'm just having more fun. Because now what's happening is, as he's opening up, some of the other animals that might not be able to get to water or dig for water can now come and drink where that elephant has dug. Now, that leopard we saw earlier, that big male, the chances are very good that he might even at some point come down to where this elephant is and digging for the water and come and drink here, and then move off. Also, lions could do it. Maybe some of the smaller, like the black Bag Jackal. You don't really find them often in the riverbeds, but if you do find them here, they'll probably go there, straight there, drink water, and then move away again. But if you look at his back, like on the very top of his back, has everyone noticed that there's quite a lot of, it looks like sand and a bit of clay or some mud. And I can just imagine, like earlier on, he might have gone past a water hole, could have had a drink, or maybe he splashed himself just as a bit of protection against the sun and probably against ticks. And then as he made his way down the river, I can imagine just as he is digging there, the water must be so clean. Like one of the things that we used to always do whenever we had to stay out in the bush is if you need to get clean water, you often go where these elephants dig, and you go and dig there. Because of all the sand, the water filtrates through to that opening, and it's quite clean and really, really fresh. And because it's under the ground, it's really cool as well. Ravi from India, you asked a very good question. Where do they know how to, or where to dig for water? So elephants can smell water from quite far off. And I've often, especially around houses, where if there's a water pipe under the ground and there's a bit of a drought, you can find that the elephants can smell that water under the ground, and they'll actually pull that pipe out near any settlement. So I'm sure as this elephant was walking along this river, he probably smelt the water and then started digging from there. But I also think it's his experience. He might have seen his mother doing it. He might have seen quite a few of the mentor bulls that he could have hanged out when he was growing up. Because judging by his age, he's probably close to like between 35 and 40 years old. And so he had a lot of time to learn this from the other elephants as well. And they probably learned that from other elephants. But probably smelt it. But also I think a lot of it has to do with his experience as well. And he knows that. He knows that this is an area to look for water, so that's why he comes down here and he'll start digging. And it's so interesting to see, because if you look at that trunk of his that is going down now, so if you look at the end of the trunk, it almost looks like 2 scoops, 2 fingers, and they use that and they actually push it into the sand, and then they'll pull it up again, push it into the sand and pull it up. Hannah, you were asking a very good question in regards to if the elephants dig like, or a herd of elephants dig like this in the riverbed, do they create like a sustainable water source? And I would say yes and no. I mean, in some areas it could possibly work, but the thing is, often if a herd of buffalo goes through, they can easily cover that up again. So And also because of the loose sand, if there's a strong wind blowing, it does cover it up, especially if the other animals need to come through. Unless a herd stays in one particular area and constantly digs for it, I don't think it would be as sustainable in terms of usage. But of course, under where that elephant is, there's quite a bit of underground water. And so, I mean, if they had to dig constantly, it could be sustainable in that way, that there would be water readily available. But I also can imagine a lot has to do with it with a drought as well, because basically the water table is where this elephant is now. So just imagine like the soil, and just underneath this massive body of water. And so as soon as there's a drought, that body of water will then lower down. And so then it becomes deeper and deeper that these elephants need to dig in order to get to it. So in a severe drought, you might find that like it would be so deep that it would not be sustainable. Amy, you asked a very good question about the elephant population in the greater Kruger area. And is it too high, and is there anything that needs to be done with it? So to be completely honest, I do know there is a whole elephant management plan that the Kruger has set aside. And that document is available for all our readers that want to go and have a look at it. I mean, I can only touch briefly on it, but I'm sure most of the practices and most of the principles are readily available to the public. So if you go onto their website, you'll be able to get quite a big document regarding that. If you are interested in further reading in that regards. But as it stands, I know they are trying to revise it. But in regards to what the actual plan is going to be, I'm not too sure on that. And I'm sure it will probably be only implemented later on. But that is a really good documentary or a PDF file that you can definitely have a look at, the Elephant Management Plan of the Greater Kruger National Park. It is it's a very good read for those who are keen on reading it. For now, we are going to carry on with our drive, and we'll let this bull be and let him enjoy his late afternoon drink. But for now, let's head across to James.
We are driving at the moment, heading towards the Djuma Dam to visit the Greaves Nest. We've driven the eastern parts of the reserve. Word on Tundi, that Tundi is our favourite leopardess. She is, well, one of our favourite leopardesses. She's got 2 cubs. She is in the reserve to the east of us. They did find her this morning at around about 10 o'clock. She was sort of sitting quite close to Torchwood Camp, which is the one camp on that reserve, and she disappeared into a gully in front of the camp during the course of the morning, and that's where we think she's got her cubs. So she hasn't come back to Djuma yet, as far as we know. So we'll just see what else we can find on our way up towards the Greaves Nest. You can have a quick look at this spider. There we have a tropical tent-web spider. Ava and Ethan in the United Kingdom have asked me a question that, is difficult to answer. And their question is now appearing on screen. Well, Ava and Ethan, I think you'd probably just call it poo, really. I think if you're an omnivore, your waste is simply known as poo. That is all I have to say on that matter. This is the tropical tent-web spider. We've seen dozens of them. And what we have is their egg sacs, and that's because it is now coming into winter time. And I think that those eggs, if I'm not mistaken, will survive like that to the end of winter and then probably hatch in the early parts of summer. Going towards that, what I find a very nostalgic time of the year, when everything kinds of prepares for the winter time. A comment from somebody called I Am a Reptile, and their comment is as follows. Ah, a spider. Thank you, I Am a Reptile. That was a wonderful, enlightening comment about this array we're looking at now. I'm much obliged to you. So as I was saying, a nostalgic time of year for me always, because it's the end of the growth season. The weavers have left their nests, which are now hanging in the trees, and they'll slowly disintegrate as the season progresses. There isn't quite the same exuberant call of birds in the mornings. This kind of thing is playing out where the spiders have finished their breeding and now the eggs are sitting incubating. And it's always I love the feeling of this time of year as we go into the winter in the Lowveld. I don't like it in Johannesburg, but I do like it here in the Lowveld. All right, let's go on. See what else there is up ahead. A couple of pans, a couple of buffalo tracks earlier. Maybe there's a beef around the place. Samita, it depends on the spider. They don't all have the same number of eyes. Jumping spiders have got, I think 6. 2 in the front. I think they've got 4 on the top. As the 6-eyed crab spider has 6 eyes. And I don't know how many eyes a golden orbweb spider has. So I think it really does vary. It's a nice question, actually. I shall have to think about that and perhaps go and try and do some reading on the subject. More elephant tracks here too. I'm getting a bit miffed now with the elephants. If I don't have 2 or 3 sightings a drive, I feel like I've been hardly done by. Let's just examine this big pile of dung here. These are not fresh elephant tracks. There are birds that have walked on top of them. Now, normally, in the summertime, of course, you'd find that this had been flattened by dung beetles, but the dung beetles have now finished. And for our younger viewers, please make sure, again, that you don't ever do this with carnivore dung. It is most likely toxic and will make you sick if you then sort of touch your face to your hands. Now, this is not ripe enough to be smelling, really. It smells pretty gross. But if you leave it for a week or 2 in the sun, I think it has the nicest smell, one of the nicest smells out here in the bush. So that's elephant dung. And I'm just looking what's in here. There is a beetle. There are lots of flies and things. But really far less activity than there would be in the middle of summer. And this elephant's been eating a lot of grass, some bark, some wood, but mainly grass. All right. And as I often say, important not to drive over the dung. And the reason that you don't drive over the dung is because of the creatures living inside it, and it's also the reason that you don't kick dung. And I've done a lot of dung kicking in my life, and I feel a bit bad about it.
Very well.
Jason, you say that I seem to know, what was his comment? I don't think that was a very nice comment. I love my poo, apparently. Thank you, Jason. Let's go to Trishala. I'm sure she's got more interesting things than poo to talk about.
I am, believe it or not. I'm going to be near the Hyena Den. In fact, I'm just going to turn into a Hyena Den road. in 5 seconds. Not even 2 seconds. There we go. So I am... It is. It's time for cubs. Hopefully. Hopefully they'll be around. This light is just gorgeous. We hoped we'd find a leopard. In fact, Owen and I were even singing a leopard song. Leopard cat, we need you tonight in this gorgeous light. Oh, leopard cat, don't get a fright. We want to find you tonight, but we have a kudu instead. Let's try and get a better view. There's a bit of a view there through that gap. Really pretty. Hidden amongst some really horrible Strychnos madagascarensis, which are those really horrible trees. I'm just going to roll back a little bit. Maybe we'll be able to get a view of you. You can do it, Wendy. There you go. It's these horrible trees here that grow upwards and not many branches off to the edges. Small little leaves. And they usually give us punctures. They do. They also have little fruit, those trees. Yep, those are the ones. Common name is Black Monkey Orange. Miss Animandrous, you say a nice song. Thank you. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. It's an original, everybody. Anyway, this tree, why I finally got an opportunity to actually tell you something about it, it's usually just called a horrible tree, is that you can get strychnine poisoning from it. The fruit holds the seeds, which has a strychnine in it, and the LD50 for strychnine is 3 to 14 milligrams per kilogram of weight. LD50 is how you measure lethality. It's what is required to kill half a sample population. So yeah, 3 to 14 milligrams of some of the seeds of this fruit, and you will get some strychnine poisoning. But in the bark, there's a different type of poison called bucine, which is also not wonderful for you. In fact, all of those things cause your muscles to give you a bit of convulsions, etc. Not pleasant. Anyway, I'm going to send you over to Nikki at the inner, I was going to say a Hyena Den, but no, riverbed, while I go to the Hyena Den.
So that elephant moved off a bit earlier from where we saw him. And so I said to myself, apparently one of the other rangers, as they was driving not too far away from here, said they spotted a big herd of buffalo. Now, I don't know how big would their big herds be, but sometimes in the wintertime we can have herds as big as 1,000 buffalo that move through the area. I think maybe there'll probably be close to 100 or so. Those are the herds that we've been seeing recently. So let's try and see if we can make it there. Now imagine if we can get them. They are in the riverbed apparently, with the sun setting behind them. How would that be for a scene? So I know it's a big build-up. However, you got to risk it for the biscuit. And so I think let's give it a go. But also, why we want to take a different route instead of just driving through the river, is there were quite a few vultures that we spotted earlier on one of the trees. So we just want to go past that area, see if there's anything. But if there's nothing from there on, we will carry on towards those buffalo. There's quite a few impala in front of us in these open areas. So this also now, even though we are heading towards the buffalo, we are still looking at maybe there's a chance of always a cheetah in these open areas. Could be some more buffalo, maybe even lions. So we'll keep it a good lookout as we go along.
Most of them crossed up the bank now. There's still a couple in the river making their way, but they're still feeding on the bank with the sunlight on the trees.
Angela, you were asking a really good question about, and asking to just see where the cheetah and the leopard was seen today. Oh, look at all the impala. How's that with the golden light on them? Oh, There was one that came from the side. I nearly wanted to shout cheetah. Oof, my heart. Okay, so we'll go back right over here. Now, just to show you where we are at the moment. So let me just familiarize myself with the map. So we are probably right over here. So the leopard that we saw was more on our western side. So it's more up this side here where the river is. So where the 7 is, just right next to it. And then the cheetah was seen this morning. So around, I would say, this area right over here. There's quite a few open spots down this way. So we basically this afternoon we went this way, didn't see anything, then we went here, and that's where we saw the giraffe and the buffalo laying down. And then of course we lost a bit of signal, so we had to make all our way down to this road here. And as we were coming down, we saw the black Bag Jackal and then the leopard there, elephant here in the river, and now the buffalo are right over here, and that's where we're heading now. So it is exciting. But for now, let's go. And this area, even though it does look so small, like in comparison to, if you just look at this map, this is nearly 15,000 hectares, so an acre-wise, 37,000 acres. So it's a pretty big property, and from here all the way down there, if you had to drive, that nearly takes 2 hours, and that's on a straight road, not on game drive pace. But for now, so let's send you across to James. Apparently he's going to have another look at that little grebe's nest.
Yes, we are. We are approaching the nest of the grebes. Apparently there are 2 where once there was 1. Say when, David? Ah. Now, what is happening? Where are your babies? 2 eggs? At least 2 eggs? A dragonfly. Right, while you look at those 2 eggs, just keep an eye on the nest there. I'm going to look at the other grebe with my binoculars and see if the babies are not on its back. I do not see them. Nor do I see them on the nest there. You see the other parent? It's over there. Let's have a look at the other parent. Ooh, got a fright. Did one of them fall out the back there? There we go. There they are. There's at least one of them in the back there, I think. I'm pretty sure. That doesn't look right. Looks like there's something stuffed under the wings, doesn't it? Come on, show us. Many of you worried about these babies getting eaten. Well, I'd love to try and give you some comfort, but I'm afraid it would just be garbage if I did give you comfort. Very few grebes make it to adulthood. So the chances of these chaps becoming adult grebes are small. I'll give you the stats now on the research that they've done. Breeding success, low. No surviving young from 4 breeding attempts. On average, probably fewer than 1 young fledged per breeding attempt. Because nests are anchored, and I made a mistake here, I thought they were floating, but in fact they're anchored. Changes in water level can severely affect success at egg stage. Well, we're almost beyond egg stage now. So of these 4, 1 will be lucky to make it to adulthood. And as of yet, we don't have confirmation of any so far. We've got 2 eggs, definitely. But do we have any chicks? There we go. Look, look, look. Come on, lift your wing. No, don't turn that way. There, I can see one. I can see a head. There we are. How cool is that? Eloise, you are 12 years old, trying to get better at birding, and you want some tips. Eloise, I suppose, I think that I don't know how, I don't know what level you're at, where you are, but the first thing you need to do, let's pretend that you're at basic level, and you probably aren't, you're probably better than basic at the moment. I would suggest what you do is you familiarize yourself with all the different bird families, so that when you go out into the field and you look at a bird, you can say, yes, well, that's a duck, that's a dove, that's an eagle, that's a goshawk, that's an oriole, whatever it is. So you get to kind of family level very quickly. Oh, and we've got both babies now. Oh, there we go. Oh, one of them's fallen off. Now they're both off. So Eloise, that would be my advice to you. Then I would strongly suggest that you get yourself the Roberts Bird app. I think it's a fantastic app. That'll help you with calls. That is very funny. This little bird trying to get back on Mum's back. And then you just need to practice. You've got to go out into the field, you've got to look, and you've got to just practice and practice and practice. And you will be astonished at how quickly you get better at it. The other thing I would suggest is that while you're practicing, you learn more about the biology of the birds. So don't just sort of learn to identify them. And the more you learn about their biology, kind of the more interesting it becomes. And you'll pick up interesting information almost vicariously, if you know what I mean. Now, what would be really special is if we watched one of these eggs hatching. But currently that's not happening. I have checked. Isn't that cute? My wife is now obsessed with these things and has suggested that I spend an entire drive here staring at the eggs on the off chance that they might hatch. I don't think we're going to do that. While I'm sure all of you are very, very interested in the fate of the grebe babies, I can't imagine my being able to make this entertaining for 3 hours. So both babies are accounted for now, safe and sound on top of Mum's back. Stephen, you're 11 years old in Wales, and your mother is... I can't do a Welsh accent. Your mother has insisted that I answer this question in a Welsh accent. I don't think I can do a Welsh accent. Let me try. You want to know why it is... Oh, no, let's quickly go to Trishala.
Guys, look at this. Both little cubs poked out their heads. Give them a lick, Ribbon. Oh, so exciting. This is the first time I'm seeing both of them fully like this. I saw them first when it was just a tiny little head that popped out there. Hello. You two are looking so good. Yes, you are. So we've been sitting here the whole time that you were with James, waiting patiently, getting a bit excited by the occasional flick of Ribbon's leg, and now we are rewarded by this lovely sight. Too hard, Mom, too hard. Oh. I'm just going to be quite quiet to get them to come out totally. As you know, we've been sitting here many times to try and get them to come out, and they're a little bit sensitive to sound, vehicles, things like that, so we've been sitting here for a while quietly, and that's probably why they're nice and comfortable. Snuffing, getting used to the world. So much to see, so much to smell. They're very confident today. I think we might be able even to see a whole body once they get a little bit more excited. Oh, we're getting very excited. Yep. One's trying to make its way under the arm. She's like, no, we are not allowing you into the outside world yet. There we go. Jump over, Mom. Come on, say hello. Come on. Come on, let them through, Ruben. Almost. So special. Come on, take a walk out. There we go. They're still a little bit wobbly. They must be at least about a month old. They look strong and confident. Like I said, just a little bit wobbly. Oh, there we go, everyone. A full view of a little baby. Now this will be really interesting once they're out and they're playing with each other. We'll be able to see a size difference and even how they interact to figure out who's dominant. Hey, Ruben, well done. They're already so playful. Remember I told you about how playful they can get? It's only a matter of time until they start sniffing our ankles and biting our tires. Hey, I want some attention too. I feel so lucky. Someone's obviously a little dirtier than the others, or than the other. I think they're gonna stand up in the... Oh no, don't go back down. I was really hoping and I thought they would come stand up near her face so we could get a really good look. Now, the more they grow and the more we come, the louder we'll be able to speak and things like that. Oh, you could see some teeth there. Show us your teeth again. They'll just be getting more confident from here on out. And already this is amazing. Oh, you guys are loving it, so am I. Fiona, you say the skin looks bad on it. It looks mangy. That is nothing to be worried about, Fiona. You'll find that that's quite common with hyena cubs. Because they're down in the den a lot of the time, and they're always playing and fighting, rubbing up against parts of the wall, their skin can be a little bit patchy. Hello. Beautiful. But that's nothing to worry about. In fact, Plonk used to have a massive white patch around his eye where the fur was missing. Plonk was our ex-matriarch Corky's son. And that is totally normal. It's absolutely fine. And they will grow out of that in no time. There's that barbed tongue back there, cleaning like a comb. Well done, girl. You see it very much with cubs. They're such resilient little things. Debbie, you say they'll soon be chewing on my vehicle and my shoes. Yes, they will. They definitely will. Just a matter of time. Now they'll start to get their spots between 2 to 3 months. Start to get shaggy. There's some teeth again. And that, when they start to get shaggy and spotty, that's when they really are very, very cute. And sometimes the camera can't even show you because it's too close to me. Oh. We are very, very energetic this afternoon, aren't we? So strong. There we go. There we go. Here we go. What has the world got to offer you? Oh, look at your belly. You've been having a lot of milk, haven't you? Oh. So difficult to find my feet. Look at that little tail. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I've got my foot stuck. This is so important to sniff around. Oh my goodness, this bundle is so cute. Oh. Now this is the furthest out of the den I think we've ever seen. So adventurous. Oh, hello. I got a proper stare down there. I'm honored. The little tail almost wrapped around that plant. Look at those paws, already quite big. Those nails. I think that this one that's venturing furthest out is slightly bigger, maybe the dominant individual. Whoa. Be nice for the other to come out so we can get a good comparison. It's very hard to determine sex at this point. As you know, with the ambiguous organs. There we go, there's another. Oh, that one's definitely a little bit smaller. And not as fulled out. You can see those patches a bit more. like I said, nothing to worry about. But that plant's got something to worry about. Now, you're brave and big and strong, aren't you? This bodes so well because it means that they're going to be out and about more and more, which is what we want. I kind of feel very honored that Robin feels comfortable and safe enough with us to allow her 2 precious gifts out. Panda, you say 1 boy, 1 girl. That's what your guess is. Your guess is as good as mine at the moment. Generally, if they're of the same sex, especially if they're both female, they are highly competitive, but doesn't always mean that there will be siblicide. That does happen sometimes, but it's not as common as you would think. Not a bad guess, but a guess is a guess at this point. And they get older, a little bit older, and they actually start to greet other members of the clan. And you actually see their penis or pseudopenis erect. Then we might be able to tell, but still so difficult at this age. There we go. Oh no, this is very far. Well, yeah, you have what's coming to you, you plant. This is very special. You all are saying this is too special. I cannot agree with you more. Oh, we've got a little bit of practice anal piece there. I bet you didn't even know that's what you were doing. Mum's toes, do they taste good? Drive radio off so we don't get that incessant beep. Just for a little bit. It's important to also keep these cubs clean. I see that Ribbon's doing a great job of that, because being down in a den where it's dank, it's humid, it's moist. There can be a build-up of pests. We don't want them to be bothering these little ones. So she always will be giving them a good clean, so they're not infested. Obviously they can put up with a certain amount in terms of pest load. Hello, gorgeous. You saw those teeth? Fully erupted canines in sizes. Their milk teeth will have to last them about 14 months or so, 12 to 14 months. And around that time, that's when they get their adult sit. And it's also the time that they will be weaned off mum's milk. So it all makes sense. Ooh, that's a very tall place you want to go to. You're going to have to try very hard. You can do it. Okay, now this tree is more, this plant is more interesting. Whoa! Take it easy. This is a really nice time for them to be playing. It's cool. It's quiet. They must be feeling so safe. The den right there, Mum right there. Lulu, you say they look like dwarf mongoose, but cuter? Okay. I think they look like little bears, but I can take mongoose too. It's interesting you say that actually, because they are more closely related to mongoose. Actually, to be specific, Vervet, which is civets and genets. But in that same kind of group, it's animals with special anal glands. It must be tough being cooped up in that den all day. Just like, oh, you shy. They do have cute little round bellies. All that milk is pumping out for you. Must be quite painful to feed you guys with your teeth. Hey, what do you have to say about that? Oh, you have some grass on your nose. I'll get it out. You're gonna get more grass on your nose. You keep putting your face first into things. I think that other one's the dominant individual, because once that one went back into the den, this one felt comfortable to walk around. And we've scurried back into the den. Oh man, I want more fun. And now we have half of Ribbon's face and the den entrance. And our two new friends are hiding from us. Come on. Don't tell me that was enough playtime. I know better. Okay. When I see them come out again, I will definitely let you know, but I'm going to send you over to James with some lions in the meantime.
Yes, we've got some lions over here, and they are the Talamati Pride, who's been scoffing a giraffe. Let me just say that I'm obviously deeply jealous of Trishala right now, but thank goodness these things are finally coming out of the den now, and hopefully we'll be able to get some good sightings of them over the next few weeks. So, very exciting that finally Rebon's babies are out of the den. Inevitably now there will be the debates about naming them. I will, at the outset, say I'm not getting involved. Now, in case you're wondering, this is the Talamati Pride. It has been on a giraffe kill in here for the last day or two. We cannot go in there. It is north of our boundary in a reserve called Biffle's Hook. And so, unfortunately, that might be it for our lion sighting. Gosh, that is disappointing. A couple of vultures still around. And I still owe a question to a young Welsh. What was his name again? Stephen. Now, Stephen, you're 11 and you live in Wales. And this is the best Welsh accent that I can muster. I'm not very good at it. I don't practice it enough. And so I will answer your question. Your question was, why is it that the eagles don't fly down and grab the grebes? And the answer young Stephen is that very, very few of the eagles that we have here hunt in the water. In fact, mostly they hunt on the land, Stephen. And I know this is a dreadful, dreadful Welsh accent, but it is the best that I can do. So there are only there's only one eagle that hunts in the water, and that's the fish eagle. And they would be in danger from a fish eagle, but there isn't a fish eagle at that particular waterhole. So there's the rib cage of the giraffe. That line is so fat it can barely move. Yes, Miss Anamandris, I did warn you, I can't do Welsh. I'll have to practice that. You say, that was awful. Thank you. Thank you. It's a young male walking past the carcass of the giraffe. Oh, it's quite nice. We've got a relatively decent view of the lions. I mean, look, I'm not going to point my camera at it right now. I'm afraid I currently have no idea what the makeup of the Talamati pride is. I just remember that there's one lioness who's got striking honey-coloured eyes. And everybody now saying my Welsh accent sounds like an Indian accent. I'm sorry about that. I'll do some work on it. I can hear it in my head. I can hear that rugby commentator who gets extremely passionate about the game, and he's unable to maintain any form of objectivity when he's watching and commentating on a Welsh match because he's so passionate. But I'm afraid I cannot translate what I'm hearing in my head to a sound that comes out of my mouth. I've never been able to do it. Two hooded vultures, waiting with bated breath for the next drop of scat to be deposited, and then they can swoop down and have a lovely meal. Mmm. Doesn't that sound nice? Ooh. Bit of action. Yes, there's certainly an angry-looking ear poking up from behind the grass there. We'll sit here a little bit longer. We do that, we're going to hand you back to Ngala, where Nikki is apparently sitting with a zebra.
So how beautiful is the sunset? So one of my favorite animals is just off to the right in front of us. You'll see Marcel said he'll do the honors of just getting a little bit closer to them. You see quite a few zebras standing in the open next to the wildebeest. Now this is definitely my favorite animal of all time. But have a look at all of them together there. Like it forms, so another name for them is called a dazzle or herd. But doesn't it just look like a dazzle? I think there's like 3 of them together there. And early on they stood up and it looked like one zebra with 3 heads. And the way they're standing, I think there's quite a bit of flies around at the moment, so they're standing with their heads quite close to each other's tails. So as the tail moves, this one on the left actually had a bit of probably a itch on his chin, but as the tail moves, they're able to just flick away those flies. And also the other thing is, like, by standing like that, the one, you watch my back and I watch your back. Safety in numbers. also the other reason, Letitia, I do agree with you. This is such a beautiful sight. And what's so nice about it, we're actually sitting on top of a little ridge and we're looking at the Drakensberg Mountains in the distance as the sun is setting over them. And of course, with the zebra here, we're also listening out to if we can hear any lions, maybe in the distance, or maybe even the rasping of leopard. But we'll just stick here for a little while longer and see if there's anything else in the area. But look at that. There's a little Swainson spurfowl that's just creeping up behind that zebra. See how the others come to join. But how's the light on these zebras? KJ, you were asking a good question. How many zebra are normally in a herd? So normally within a herd, there could be anything from 3, 2, all the way up to 10, 11. And then sometimes they do form what are like these mega herds. Like, have a look quickly at what they're doing now. See how they're grooming each other. See those little bites. I don't know if you've noticed, sometimes the dogs will do that as well, even the cats. But they form these massive herds, and then sometimes there could be hundreds of zebra together. But then, of course, within each one, there's a little family unit up to 6, 7 zebra. You can see while they're grooming like each other in the front, there's actually an oxpecker quickly seeing if you can get a meal under the tail. And then just behind them, I don't know if everyone knows, but there was a black bird with a bit of white on the tail that flew past and just landed. It's called a Magpie Shrike. And the Magpie Shrikes, what they do is they wait for the zebra to move, and as they move, they disturb the grass and they'll go and catch the insects. Very similar to the lilac-breasted roller that we saw the other day as well. I think I have that exact photograph of them grooming each other like that hanging in my room. Such a special scene. But for now, let's head across to Trishala at the Hyena Den.
Well, they pop their heads out one more time. They seem like they want to explore a lot more than Mum is willing to permit tonight. There was a few squeals, some squittering, and then they were put back into the den. More like pushed back in the case of Ribbon. They moved in and she just slid down. Then she embarrassingly tried to wake up, which she realized that she couldn't in this particular angle, and then she put her head and neck against the back of the dead there in an effort to leave her herself out. Didn't work. She simply arched her back, but her butt was still sliding downwards. And then she said, "Now I'm not going to do this on camera." And then she very elegantly looked like I was trying to do this the whole time. I was just getting into a better position to block the den with. I'm just waiting for a little head to squeeze out one of those spaces. You are such a good girl and we are so proud of you. I really hope that they both survive. Sassy Cathy, you'd like to know, do hyena pee like baby humans do? They actually do. I've seen it. I've seen the way that they bite things constantly. Now, whether it's actually teething or not, we can beg to differ on it. But they definitely do go about chewing things a lot more around that 10-month mark. Especially ties, as you would know. They really enjoy chewing things. I think most mammal babies would actually experience teething because it is that pain of teeth that are coming or that are leaving and teeth that are erupting, that kind of thing. Well, teething in its pure sense would be teeth erupting from no teeth at all, in which case the carnassials and molars that these little ones still need to erupt, I think that they do. Once those little ones, the milk teeth fall out, that will also take a bit of teething or a bit of pain, and it would take a bit of effort to keep them under control. It's just, I think, why they bite so much. It takes a long time to develop a strong jaw, strong teeth, strong skull needed to do what hyenas do very well, that is to crush bone. So what are you doing there? Are you hiding a cub there? Oh, yes you are. Sneaky ribbon. Alright, I'm going to sit here for a little longer, and James the lion's now on the moose. Let's go over to him.
They sure are up. There they are. They're having a play. They are relieving themselves all over the place. And I don't think that they'll be here for long. Maybe they'll be on Djuma tomorrow. But the cubs are up and about and playing. While you're looking at them, I just found a message from a vet who actually used to look after some horses I was involved with about 30 years ago. Anyway, I was talking about canine distemper the other day, and somebody asked if it could be controlled with a vaccination. I didn't know. And this is what he wrote. Distemper is a virus disease of canines caused by the mobili virus, causes upper respiratory signs, diarrhea, a hard pad, and nose in more chronic form. So the pads, I'm assuming the pads of the feet and the nose get hard. And then with time, severe nervous symptoms and death. It's highly infectious but well controlled by adequate vaccination. So basically, yes, you can inoculate or vaccinate, not inoculate, vaccinate a wild dog for canine distemper. That animal is now playing with a stick. It looks like it is cleaning its friend with a feather duster. That is unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Either that or swatting the flies off its friend. I wish there were no doubt many in the grass there. Oh no, just biting the stick and will now destroy it on its own. On her own. That's it, little ones, come this way. You can see them all panting very heavily because they're very full of food. And reaffirming the fact that they love each other, despite the fact that no doubt when this giraffe died, they all hit, scratched and bit at each other. Even though there was enough food for everyone to eat, no one stood back, no one had any manners, and now they must reaffirm their bonds by being nice post-meal. Oh, one of them has just let fly with an astonishing volume. Michael, to have taken down this giraffe, I think they would have required all the lionesses in the pride. I think there are 5 lionesses in the Talamati pride currently, adults, and there's some sort of sub-adults, but it would have taken all of them to pull down the giraffe, and possibly a male as well. I don't know if there's a male here in the group. These little ones, sabarals, would have been useless though. A giraffe, once you get it down though, is not hard to kill. So if they chased it and it had tripped or something like that, then it wouldn't have taken long. There we go. Oh, we've got some fun time. Magic Dragon Wizard. I don't know if this was a young or old giraffe. I'm afraid from the look of its rib cage, I was unable to tell. I said an adult. Good, we have a view of a tail and a foot. Give this 1 second before we then reverse back. Oh, more lion. There we are. Hello, chaps. So exhausted. I think that's our stick playing, unless she likes to be amongst the sticks. There's a single impala that's alarming, not far from here. But it may well just be rutting. Stop now. I don't think we'll move from here. We'll stay here for now. We won't be able to view this sighting in infrared if it necessitates that, because they're just a little bit far for the infrared light to reach. But for now, we'll enjoy them playing. Full of beans after their giraffe meal. Sounds of the evening. Deep-throated, satisfied grunt that they're making. It's not purring. Beautiful calls of the white-browed scrub robin in the background. Rachel, you wanted me to identify all the calls. Well, there's the crested francolin going now. You can hear that. That is the white-browed scrub robin. That's about all really. Largely just francolins and scrub robins. Cape turtle dove as well. Poo-poo, poo-poo. Lioness, you want to know where we are on Djuma? I'll give you the road names. We're at the junction of Gowrie Cutline and Biffle's Hook Cutline. Is a kingfisher calling? Some babblers.
I'll get a better picture in infrared.
Okay, we're going to go to infrared now, everyone. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I might get a slightly better picture, but we won't be able to shine the infrared light in there. That won't make any difference. It won't shine that far. Very nice picture of some grass, with one or two black pom-poms flopping about in it. Oh, some feet. All right, let's go back to the Hyena Den where the action continues to unfold.
It does. We are now in infrared because it's starting to get a little bit darker. Still not totally dark though. Oh, this little one got a fright from Ruben moving her leg. Too sweet. Now this one was actually suckling. This is the one I suspect is the submissive of the two. It was suckling in the position that is usually taken up by that cub who is less dominant or more submissive. Oh, look at that paw head of mom's. Oh, look at the comparison of paws there. Moms compared to babies. So sweet. Now, a submissive cub takes the position that is between mom's two back legs at her tail, suckles from behind. And that's where this cub was suckling from. So I think we are right saying that this one is the more submissive of the two. That is a wonderful observation, Kirst. She says it's also the itchier of the two. Definitely. Making tiny little noises. I'm not going to talk too much this segment just in case we get to hear it. But Janet, you say they're so brave. They really are. Seems that two relatives of this little family are with genes. Let's go and say hello.
We've got two hyenas here that were coming down towards the kill and have clearly decided that the sound of all those lions is a little bit beyond them. I think they're quite young. and so they've decided that they'll head off and find something else to eat, rather than the scraps of the giraffe, which will be theirs probably, I'd say, by the end of tomorrow. Maybe even tomorrow morning, the lions would have left. Let's carry on. I don't know which members of the clan are. Is there a third one there? No, it's just the two. I think they're a little nervy of us. Yeah. They're not that keen on us, I'm afraid. It's a bit odd. Perhaps because when we start the engine they can no longer hear the lions, and perhaps they get a little bit nervous of where they are. I don't know. But if they are members of the Djuma clan, they've spent a lot of time around vehicles. Sorry about that, our picture's not very stable. Let's go back to Trish, we'll see if we can catch up with these guys.
Oh, I hope that you do manage to catch up. Hope we'll be able to see which two hyenas are there with James. I can hear a couple babblers in the background. But I thought I could hear also some hyenas behind us, not whooping though. Maybe we'll get more visitors to see the little ones. Listen. Did you hear that sweet little squeak? I can't see it. Ruben doesn't seem too concerned. Ah, it's the sound of a vehicle. And Dorina, you'd like to know if the mother will pay less attention to the submissive one. She won't pay less attention, but she definitely won't try to equalize anything. So whatever happens between the two cubs, she basically stays out of that completely. She does not get involved. If one injures the other, if one stops the other from nursing, hello? She does not get involved. She lets them fight it out. Because it's such an integral part of being a hyena to be able to assert your dominance or accept that you're submissive. Because it's such an important part, she has to let them fight it out. She has to let them establish that. Oh, look at that little dove. Oh my goodness, it's a massive bull. It's a massive Ellie bull. Just behind us. Right behind us, Owen. Hello, big boy. Hello, big boy. You are humongous. Did you hear that as he walked by? I've just got to get used to the fact that more often than not, when I'm in a sighting, there will be an elephant. It'll be there too. Much like the wild dogs, much like Lauren had with Hukumuri, and now with Ribbon as well. I suspected so because I could hear a car, and then I could hear the braking of an elephant as well. But the car had stopped to see the elephant. It was humongous. Just lovely. I also quite like that Ribbon just kind of looked at it. No strong reaction. Oh. Half stretch. Okay. It is really dark now, so I think we're going to leave this den and we'll send you over to James for the last few minutes of show, unless I find a chameleon on my way home.
Given her luck today, she probably will find a chameleon. That's wonderful. Elephant bull at a hyena den. It's amazing how many sightings like that we've had. And I wonder if, much like the way elephant bulls come and investigate us when they see us from time to time, I wonder if they don't do exactly the same with the hyena den. They're cruising along, eating, bored. They smell the hyena den, they think, oh, well, let me go and see if there's any action going down there and check out what's happening. Also, of course, the hyena den is normally in a it's always in a termite mound, which means that the grass is nutritious there, and that's why those things of which we don't speak were today evening. But I'm pretty sure that the number of elephant sightings I've had at the hyena dens are because the elephants are bored and they want to come and check out what's going on. And many of you saying that the drive has been full of highlights. Well, I'm very pleased. I think it's been very full of highlights too. Baby grebes, baby hyenas, lots of lovely scenery, interesting lions, and a leopard. There was even a leopard, which unfortunately I think walked out of signal range. They're not very good at maintaining signal, are the leopards. Yes, Nancy, that's absolutely right. Now we go and we have supper, if that's all right with you. I'm hoping it's been cooked. Yes, it has. In fact, I know it has. Owen and Louise have prepared a stew, or poiki, as we call it here. But don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow at 0600 for more safari, Sunday safari. The last two Sundays have been absolutely magnificent. So thank you for your questions and comments. Thank you for being with us throughout the day. Stay safe and happy until tomorrow. Bye-bye.